goosebumps every time, yeah, 713. Through the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? I'm flying, sipping low-key. I'm sipping low-key and honest, rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the Heimlich, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, when you throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Off the mugs. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Loaded Mag NUFC for a Newcastle United special tonight. It's not going to be as heated as it was yesterday with accusations and people getting cooked and all sorts in there on the panel, but it's going to be a fact-finding bit of a show tonight. We've got a little bit of something special for you. But first of all, Daz, how are you on this fine Tuesday evening?
It's still only Tuesday, is it? I'm okay. Yeah, busy. Just not long in the door in the office today. But no, looking forward to having a chat with Mikha about everything really. What it's like to be a football scout. Really.
Absolutely, definitely, and not just to be a football scout, but to scout some of the top young players that are around. And look, let's be honest. The reason why we're doing this show tonight is because Newcastle United have signed a Wonderkid, a very talented one by all means, and we're going to get to grips with what he could potentially bring to Newcastle United when he signs. But ultimately, there were some rumours about this young man coming and being signed for Newcastle United, but we got the official announcement from Newcastle United not too long ago that Vakhtang Salia.
I was waiting for you.
So you waiting for me to say it? I had to go. We'll ask Mikha if I pronounced it correctly. But he has officially signed a deal with Newcastle United, a highly rated Georgian forward. He is going to, and it talks about this on the website as well, he will officially join Newcastle United on his 18th birthday in August 2025, so the beginning of the 25-26 season. He will remain at Dynamo in the meantime and play the remainder of the season there. And if anyone didn't know what he looked like, we've got a few snaps of him. Yeah, maybe some similarities to this man, but we'll come back
there
to
he
that.
is.
We'll come back to that. Special K in just a second. But look, we might as well bring him in. It's an absolute pleasure to welcome KAA Gent, and we have a very special role because he is also a UEFA Elite Scout. It is Mikha Gabechava. So welcome in, Mikha.
Welcome, Mikha.
Hello, guys.
How you doing?
Hello, guys. Thanks a lot for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm really excited to be discussing Salia with you because, to be honest, I didn't really expect him to join such a big club so early on in his career. I was always a big believer that he had a huge potential, but it's not often that you see such a huge club scouting at such a level already. So I'm really glad to see that, and I'm really looking forward to discussing everything about him with you guys. And before anything else, well done with the pronunciation, Pete. It might not be as difficult to pronounce Mikha Gabechava, but still very good, well done.
Good stuff, great stuff. And yes, we finally got our right there as a pronunciation. We always like to try and make sure we get the pronunciations right, just that sort of that respect level for players coming from different countries. So look, you mentioned he was a player, Salia, that you didn't expect to make that jump to a bigger club so soon. When did you first sort of catch an eye on Salia in terms of like watching him, and when did he sort of catch your eye, and what caught sort of your attention about him? What made him stand out?
Yeah, so actually, when I joined Dynamo, he was already there. He was in the academy. I joined the club in September, October of 2022, and shortly after that, I saw him in the academy because I was doing my UEFA C license and then B license. So I had to be in the academy to coach kids. I hadn't coached him, obviously, but I used to watch him during the trainings and during the games, during the academy games. And I have to say that one of the things that caught my attention immediately was his work rate, and that's something that doesn't often catch your attention at such a young level. Even nowadays, he has carried that work rate on the pitch at the senior level. You will probably get even dizzy just watching him running around. He just runs so much, and one of the things that basically he does all the time is when the team is pressing high, he's always pressing the goalkeeper, pressing the center backs. So he's always giving his 100% and even more in that aspect. So and especially when we're talking about a Premier League club, such a high level of work rate is something that is definitely to consider, because if there's anything that differentiates Premier League and any other league in the world, is the speed of the game and the intensity. And when you already have such a work rate and work ethic at such a young age, it's a huge benefit. So I'm glad to see that, and I think it will help him a lot in the future.
Okay, brilliant. So, yeah, some definitely standout qualities there, for sure. Because we've, looking at the type of makeup that we have, we want to make sure we're getting a certain sort of style of player. So the fact that he has those sort of qualities is quite key for someone so young, still only 17, still
Yes.
really young. But interesting. Daz, I'll come to you because I know you've got a question for
I've got a few questions as well. So how does Salia compare to the other players his age in terms of his skill level and game awareness?
In my opinion, I personally think that in his age group, he's the most developed and the best. He has the best quality, not only in his age group, but I think that from the 2006, 2007, and even 2008, he is probably the best player that we have, even though there are quite a few players within those age groups, especially the 2006 generation is quite interesting. I still believe that this guy is the best among these three age groups. Although in the 2009 age group, we might have a player that will probably be even better than him. And I'm not sure if your club knows about him. And if they don't, then please tell them about him. Yeah, his name is Andrea Bartishvili. I'm pretty sure if not this time, next year, they will know about him.
Wow. Okay.
Paul Mitchell, get on it.
Yes. Get scouted now. Definitely. No, good stuff. I'm gonna kind of sandwich my sort of like a couple of these questions together, because I know you've already sort of touched on it. So, look, what are sort of his standout features? What makes him sort of stand out at such a young age, and what makes him stand out to make you think that he's going to be sort of a big star? And then to add to that, is there anything in his game? I imagine, being only 17, is there anything in his game that needs to be worked on before he makes that step to Newcastle United?
Sure. First of all, I believe there are a couple of things that make him stand out. First of all, on a technical level, I think he has the striker's instinct, and that is very important, if you ask me, because, instinct is obviously something that you're born with. And even though some of the things about finishing and being a striker can be learned and developed if you train well enough, when you have the instinct, you will always be better than anyone else who just tries to develop those skills. And from what I've seen, that guy has that instinct and has always had that since the academy level. and he basically just knows where to be in the box, when to arrive in the box, and how to score goals, basically. And if there are three positions that are scarce and rare in modern football, those are good goalkeepers, good left-footed center backs, and goal scorers. Those three positions, I believe, are scarce, and it's a bit of a paradox that in a game where everything is about scoring a goal, the hardest part is actually scoring a goal. So this guy, I believe, has all ingredients to be a very, very good goal scorer. His ball striking and his instincts and his anticipation in the box is just amazing. But besides that, I believe his character is one of the most important things. And I always believe, not only about him, but in general, you can be as talented as you want, but if you don't have the right mindset and the right character, you will never achieve anything in football. You can maybe play 1 or 2 seasons at the high level, but in the long term, you'll definitely fail. And we've seen the examples of that. But in case of Salia, I believe his character is something that will take him far, and it will ensure his sustainable performances and consistency at the high level. And I'm really happy to see that, because in earlier years you wouldn't see players from Georgia, young players, being so professional, so mentally tough and strong, I would say. And I'm happy to hear all those qualities. I'm happy to see all those qualities in him. But in terms of your second part of the question about what he has to improve, I believe if, for example, if you put him in the Premier League right now, immediately, he will definitely not score a goal, because what he lacks is the adaptation to a higher level. And I'm saying that because a lot of people might not be aware, but the league and the quality of the Georgian league is quite low. And because of the low intensity and the low speed, he has to adapt everything that he does. So everything that he does, his shooting, his passing, his positioning in the final third, everything, he has to step up and do everything much quicker than he's doing right now. So because of that, I believe he's well. First of all, I think that immediately after he joins Newcastle, he will be loaned out to another European club, probably in the Netherlands, or I don't know where, but somewhere in between Georgia and England. But he has to adapt all those things, and basically his speed of actions has to improve, because now he's not used to such a high tempo of the game. So everything he does must be done much quicker than he's doing right now. Right now, he's just used to a much lower level and much lower tempo of the game, and has to step up.
Okay.
Thanks, Mikha.
That's kind of what we expected as well.
Yeah.
You know, Daz, you'll agree with this too, is that, you know, being 17, you know, being able to step up to sort of men's football and playing at a higher level, it's gonna take time. But you touched on it really quickly, Mikha, is that he's a goal scorer. And I know that brought a smile to myself and Daz when you mentioned he's a goal scorer, because as Newcastle fans, people in the chat will be the same. Newcastle United love a goal scorer, and I was looking at some of the stats, just some brief stats. 8 goal contributions in 26 games, 6 goals, 2 assists. He's only played 26 games at 17 years old. So to get that many goal contributions so early on in his career, that's good going. Really, really good going.
Definitely, yeah. Because honestly, you have to consider that he's still 17 and he's playing men's football. So to some people, 6 goals might not be as much. They will, especially Newcastle fans, will be used to seeing much bigger numbers. But I believe he's capable of improving those numbers. And yeah, I mean, as a 17-year-old striker, the most difficult part is playing against big center backs and physical guys who are much stronger than you. But to see him playing so fluidly, I would say, so freely in the final third is just amazing.
Mika, you mentioned goalkeepers, and we spent our summer talking about a particular goalkeeper, Georgian goalkeeper Marmashvili, but we won't go there. He's gone to Liverpool now. We'll forget about that. But linking back to his age, 17. I suppose my first question, I want to link in two questions, is you speak brilliant English yourself. I guess that's one of the things he'll work on now, is trying to learn English before he comes over to Newcastle, and maybe he's loaned out then after that. But how is his how does he handle pressure situations in high intensity situations, I guess?
Well, yeah, that's a good question, because honestly, I think that in that aspect, he hasn't been tested enough. Because, well, first of all, I cannot recall any like very important or big games that he has participated in, because, well, first of all, because he didn't even have a chance to participate in those games. Because at the local level in Georgia, obviously there are big games, but the attendance at the stadium is really low. At the home stadium at Dinamo, well, the stadium is probably mostly empty all the time. So even when he's playing against his big rivals, there is no one at the stadium to put pressure on him. And Dinamo hasn't played, for example, in the Europa League or in the Champions League or in the Conference League. He has played in the Conference League qualifications, but the team, with all due respect, was not as strong as you would expect. So it was not such a huge game for him. So I don't think he has been tested in that sort of environment just yet. Although from what I've seen and from what I know about his character, he should be capable of dealing with that really well, because his emotional control is brilliant. So I don't think he will have too many issues with that.
Okay, I know there's a few questions from the from the chat that have put in that are watching live right now, and thank you for everyone watching live. The three of us. If you haven't already, make sure you click the like, and if you're new to the channel watching for the first time, make sure you click that subscribe as well. And thank you for coming and joining us along this fantastic talk. Really, really insightful, Mikha, and we both really appreciate you coming on and joining us. Questions about sort of his leadership qualities. You know, we're always looking for sort of like leaders coming into the team, players that are sort of more commanding on the pitch. Do you see that from him? I know he's quite young, but you get some young players that can sort of have that presence about them. We had a young lad that got almost thrusted into the team last season, 17 years old, Lewis Miley. But he had that sort of a respect and that sort of commanding of leadership around him in his early years. Do you see that from Salia, or is that something maybe he needs to develop a little bit further?
Yeah, definitely. He has the character. With his character, I would say he's as probably every Georgian player. He's like a Southern player, like the Italians and Spanish and South Americans, and he has the character. But I don't think he can be the captain, or he has those many leadership qualities that he can lead the team and be the captain of the team. But he's one of those guys who plays with a lot of passion, with a lot of energy and intensity. And he's someone who will always give more than 100% every time he steps on the pitch. So in that sense, I don't think anyone can have any question marks.
Okay. That'll be one to keep an eye out for sure. Daz, feel free to throw in another question, or we can go to the chat if you want. Up to you.
Yeah, I suppose just watching a few video clips, like I'm sure all Newcastle fans have. He kind of can play out the left. He can play out the right as well in the clips I've seen, and through the middle. Like, how adaptable is he to playing in different positions or in tactical systems? Because Eddie Howe likes a player that can play in a number of positions, and he can tweak mid game and stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. Definitely, one of his strengths is his positional flexibility. He has played in different roles and positions. Previously, he has played as a left winger in a 4-3-3, as a lone striker in 4-3-3. Quite recently, Dinamo started playing in 3-5-2, so he's sometimes playing as a striker in a 2 center forward partnership. But to me, honestly, I believe he is a mix of a false nine and a poacher. That's the position and the role that he's most effective in. Obviously, he can play as a winger when needed. More effective, well, if we are speaking about his abilities on the wing, he would be more effective on the left than on the right, because also he's right-footed. But he can also use his left foot quite well. But to me, in the long term, he can be a very good striker. He will be much more effective through the middle. And in the national team, for example, our national team also plays in 3-5-2. I believe him and Kvaratskhelia can play together because, for example, Kvaratskhelia can play out wide on the left and he can stay in the middle. So I definitely believe that those two can link up really well in the national team.
And for Newcastle in the future, hopefully, as well. You never know. You never know. We have our own Wonderkid here at London Mag in UFC as well. He goes by the name of Chris Hall. Welcome, Chris. Welcome back again, Chris.
Mate, I don't know what happened. So apologies to Mikha. I genuinely don't know what happened. So I had to run downstairs, reset everything. But fingers crossed, I'm back now. So fingers crossed.
No problem.
He's back. There's a few questions in the chat, Daz. We might well come to. Yeah, there is loads, to be fair. And we thank you for the questions. Keep putting them in. Some really good ones. Yeah, it's one or two that we've already kind of covered, I think.
There is. I'm just trying to find one. Let's go for this one from Foxy. Georgia and Tbilisi, especially, produced some decent players lately. Can we expect to see more to follow Salia to Europe's the big leagues? And he names a few after that. Trying to catch me out there, Foxy. I'm not falling for it, though. What do you think, Mika?
Yeah. Well done, because all of those players are quite good. Bartishvili, as I mentioned previously, the 2009, he's amazing. I think he's the next big thing from Georgia, and Kharebashvili as well. Samushia, definitely. But Kharebashvili, he's a left back, and he started playing for the first team of Dinamo when he was 15. And he's just incredible because at such a young age, he's so developed on a physical level that you won't see that very often. So definitely, those are some of the standout players that you would expect to pop up on the radar in the near future, maybe in the next year or two. But yeah, other than those guys, there are still quite a few interesting guys who will definitely develop in the near future.
Are you banging the door down at Ghent, trying to get some more of these Georgian lads over? Yeah.
Yes.
Nice one. We have a legend as well from Georgia that played for Newcastle, Timur Ketskaya. So is this new Wonderkid going to be as good as him, I guess?
Well, I hope so. I think he can be better than him. Yes.
Brilliant.
So
I'll do it.
Chris,
Yeah.
any question you want to bring, Chris? So give you a chance.
Well, I'm a little bit worried in case I repeat what you boys have already asked Mikha, but Mikha, and apologies if you've already answered this, but what would you say are the biggest bonuses of Salia? Like what can we look forward to as Newcastle United fans, and where would you put him on par with, say, another Wonderkid from elsewhere in the world? Whereabouts is his level, would you say?
Well, yeah, that's a good question. So to sum it up, I think some of his most important qualities are his work rate, his character on and off the pitch, because he has never, well, from what I remember, he has never ever had any issues with his attitude, during the trainings or during the game or whatever. His striker's instinct, that's one of the most important attributes as well, and his positional versatility. So I believe those 4 qualities are the ones that will guarantee his development in the future. But in terms of his development trajectory and the level that he can reach, I definitely think that he has the potential to reach the Premier League and to be a regular starter even for Newcastle. So I believe he has that potential, although it's always very difficult to say that sort of a thing about a young player. But if everything goes to plan, I mean, if he is loaned out to a proper club where he's given enough playing time to develop his skills and to adapt to a higher tempo of the game. And what is even more important to me is that he has to stay injury-free. So if everything goes to plan, I really believe that he can play regularly in the Premier League.
I'm going to take another question from the chat because it's a good one. Comes from Giniesta. He says, how good is Salia out of possession? Our coach demands a lot of max sprint and aggression from the attackers. I suppose the press is what we've been known for when we were playing really well. So what's he like in that situation?
Yeah, when we started the podcast, I think that was one of the things that I said in the first place. His work rate is just amazing. You will always see him pressing the goalkeeper or center backs, and well, that is exactly one of his biggest qualities, that he can contribute out of possession. And once again, that is something that you won't see a lot of times, especially with young Georgian players, because they always lack the intensity, the energy level. Although they have very good technical skills, the physical development is not as good. But with him, it's a good exception that he has all those attributes, and that's exactly where he excels. And I think he will contribute a lot in that aspect to Newcastle.
Okay, one more question from me. So are there any established players he reminds you of in terms of style and personality? And I'm going to give you a little hint here as well.
Yeah,
I was waiting for Lamine Yamal. I was thinking he's going to say Lamine Yamal. Sure.
I knew Daz was perfect to answer that question after that one, because I knew what he was going to go with.
Thanks, Pete.
Well, yeah, I mean, I can see why people compare him to Kvaratskhelia. I can definitely see the similarities, although I will probably say that the player that he resembles even more is Roberto Firmino, I think, because of his style of play. Because I think both of them are a mix of a poacher and a false nine, plus both of them have a very high work rate. If I compare Salia to Kvaratskhelia, I don't think Kvaratskhelia can play false nine. And I don't think he can be as efficient in that role as a striker, as a lone striker, for example, in 4-3-3. I really believe that Salia, if you play him in 4-3-3 as a number 9, he will be much more effective than Kvaratskhelia. And that is exactly why I say that if they play in the national team, they can definitely be in the starting lineup together, because they can play different roles. So that's why Firmino, I think, will be even more similar to Salia than Kvaratskhelia.
Mikha, sorry if you've already answered this, but how far away would you say Salia is from the national team at this present moment, like realistically?
Well, that's a good question. I think he's not that far away because what you will see with the national team of Georgia is that they tend to call up players that move to Europe. So immediately after someone moves to Europe and starts playing in Europe, they tend to call them up to the national team, because those players then start to adapt to a higher tempo. And that is one of the reasons why they do that. Because I remember one time the majority of the national team consisted of players from the domestic league, and we had terrible results. and that's when they learned that when the players adapt to a higher level and to a higher standard of European football, that's exactly when you should call them up. And I think when he starts playing in Europe next year, they will probably call him up immediately. So I think just a bit over 1 year and he will be called up to the national team immediately.
At 18 years old as well, that would be
Yes.
that would be special for sure. And they then gives him a year to prepare for a potential major tournament, which
Yes, exactly.
which that could put him on another scale at 18, 19 nearly, to be potentially on that sort of exposure. And that can only be a good thing for Newcastle United, having a young player like that is playing international football, who is honing his craft alongside some really talented players. And yeah, it can only be a good thing for Newcastle. I mean, I think someone else has put it in the chat as well, but do we expect him to go to Newcastle's under-21s? Do you see him, Mikha, competing in the first team? Or like how do you see his route once he does officially join on his 18th birthday?
Yeah, I think well, probably Newcastle will loan him out immediately, and probably to a country like the Netherlands. And I say the Netherlands because, well, if you compare the intensity and the speed of game in the Netherlands to Belgium, for example, the intensity is lower and the physicality that is required is lower. So for a player like Salia, who comes directly from the Georgian league, that is notorious for the low level of intensity and speed, it will be much better for him to adapt in the Netherlands than in Belgium, for example. Although he's already developing a very good physical qualities that will allow him to play even in Belgium in the near future. But I think maybe a couple of loans, preferably, I would say, as I said, the Netherlands and maybe in the Championship, because it's a fantastic league, and he will also adapt to the culture, to the English culture, football culture, also culture outside of football. So I think a couple of loans, including one in the Championship, would be amazing.
Definitely.
Mikha, a personal question for you, right? And this is, first of all respect to Gent, right? A lovely place, by the way. I've been there before. It's a really nice place. But okay, looking at your future, Mikha, right? Would it be an ambition of yours to maybe be a scout for a Premier League club? Got a phone call from Paul Mitchell in the future, or some other club maybe as well. Is that something that you'd like to? And I have a test for you after that then. So what's your answer first?
Well, yeah, obviously. Yeah, that is my ultimate goal, I would say. Well, yeah, I mean, everyone, I think, who scouts at this level, everyone has the goal to join one day a Premier League club. So definitely that is my ultimate goal, and I hope to achieve that soon.
I would just say, interesting, I was reading earlier on, apparently Brighton have removed all of their scouts, or all of their major scouts that brought in all of their top players over the last 5 or 10 years. They've moved them out. I'm not sure the reason why, but they've all
Chelsea buy them.
Well, yeah, half of them went to Chelsea, and the rest I don't know.
Well, the rest of them have now left. The one that Chelsea side, the rest of them are gone. So who knows? There may well be an opening there.
Why not? Yes,
keep an eye on.
And exactly, Brighton is one of those clubs who always scouts this random league. So Georgia will be one of those random leagues for them for sure.
Well, you heard it here
But
first.
keep us in mind, Anumika. And here comes your test.
Yeah.
It comes from Peter. Peter asked the question: are there any good goalkeepers coming through as good as Marmashvili? Of course, we missed out there, but anyone you can recommend?
Yes. Well, it's always goalkeepers are the most difficult to scout, but there is one guy. His name is Mate Sauri. He now plays for Rio Aves Reserves. He recently moved in the summer. He is 18 years old. He was born in 2006, if I'm not mistaken, and he, to me, he's one of the best ones that we have in the youth category, and I hope he continues that development. And I believe Portugal is just the perfect place for him to develop. Rio Ave is also the part of this multi-club ownership that owns Nottingham Forest and Olympiacos, I think. So if he moves to Nottingham Forest after that, that would be great.
Nice one.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking now, Pete. You're a fellow Football Manager fan. Mika's probably in Football Manager. I'm gonna hire Mika.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to start a new career. Again, I'm doing it. And I'm putting you as chief scout. That's my first role.
Yeah.
Chief scout. I'm giving you a role rise right to the top. But no, there was one question, and we sort of kind of touched on it, but I'll ask it again anyway. It was interesting because in the chat, I think it was Jordan Team for Life. We have this phrase of a sort of a no dickhead policy, which is like we don't want players in that have got the wrong type of attitude when they come into the team. We want them to all be the same type of attitude, determined, motivated, wanting to be the absolute best all the time. With Salia, do you see any concerns with attitude from what you've seen, or is he someone that is really motivated and driven? Like, how have you seen his sort of attitude, and not necessarily on the pitch, but off it as well?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's very unusual to see such level of professionalism in such a young player. As I said, he never had any issues with his attitude on and off the pitch. Even when he was at the academy, all the coaches just loved him. And that was one of his standout qualities, that he was always giving his more than 100% in every single training. He's always very focused in trainings, and you won't see that very often in such a young player. He's so serious about everything that he does, and he's so professional that it's just very unusual to see. So I believe in that sense. Well, I don't think he will have any issues in the future. And he's one of those guys who stays humble, works very hard, keeps his head down, and just continues whatever he does the best. And what I saw in him during this most recent period was that even with those let's say transfer rumors and everything that has happened to him, well, obviously when this sort of a thing happens to you at such a young age, when Newcastle signs you, it's a huge thing. And for you to stay the same, not to change, not to get carried away, and to continue working with the same attitude, training with the same attitude, and playing with the same attitude is just amazing. And I haven't seen any negative changes in him after he signed for Newcastle. Well, I can probably guarantee that he won't have any issues with that in the future.
I hope he listens back to this as well, by the way.
Yeah.
He'll be very happy about that for sure.
Yeah.
There's a great question here from Foxy, and it's about Gent. He's trying to catch me out with the names, the pronunciations of players again. But he asked about the Nigerian duo that are in the side. And can you see them breaking into the first team at some point? And who from the current squad is the most likely to get a big move?
That's a good question, actually. And it totally depends on your fellow Englishman, Max Dean, because if he continues scoring goals at this rate, I don't think anyone stands the chance to be promoted to the first team in that position, because we signed him in the summer. He's probably scoring every single game, and he's been amazing. We've signed him from League Two. And some people might think that it's a huge jump. It's a huge jump from fourth tier of English football to top tier of Belgian football, but you can definitely see that he's adapted really quickly, and he hasn't had any issues with that. So my friend Foxy, I should say that if Max Dean continues scoring at this rate, no one stands a chance to replace him in the first team. But about the second part of your question, one of the guys that I think will get a big move is the midfielder. Well, I will probably mess up his surname pronunciation. Delorg. He's a defensive midfielder. We also signed him this summer. And even when we played against Chelsea, when we lost 4-2, it was actually quite a decent game. We didn't play too bad. And he was one of the best performers, even in that game at such a high level, even considering that Chelsea didn't play with their first 11, let's say. Still, the subs that they have are just amazing. The speed and the physicality that those players have is just exceptional. And this guy played really well, even against such an elite squad. And I believe he's one of those guys who will get a big move for sure.
When you're head scout at Newcastle, Mikha, you want to hire Foxy because Foxy knows his stuff.
For sure, yeah.
Very
You already know some of the best Georgian players as well.
We've gone beyond that because David's already saying Chief Eastern European Scout. He's even wider. He's in your
Thank you very much.
For sure. So thank you for that, David. Now, I mean, in terms of all of our major questions that we kind of had, they're already there, and I am wary of time as well. So I don't know. We've gone sort of 40 minutes out. Have you got a little bit longer to answer a couple more questions?
Yeah. Sure, we can carry on.
I think there might be a few in there in the chat that we have.
Let me see what the best one. Yeah, okay. I'm not sure. You're probably not going to know so much about another signing we made, Pivas. Do you know anything about him, Mikha?
Unfortunately, not because. Where is he from? I should probably look in.
From Serbia.
I can't even remember now.
From Serbia.
From Serbia.
Yeah. No.
From Serbia.
Let me see. Well, yeah. Let's go on back to KK. And where do you think he'll go when he leaves Napoli? I know he's probably got his pick, but he's probably going to go to the very top. Where could you see him going to? And have you met him? Have you interacted with him? Was he before your time?
No, I haven't met him actually. He left Dinamo several years ago, much earlier than I joined the club. So I haven't had the chance to meet him and speak with him. But just as Salia and definitely Mamardashvili, I also think that Kvaratskhelia has enough quality to play in the Premier League. I've seen some rumors about Man United, even earlier about Liverpool. But I think whichever club chooses to sign him, if they give him enough time in the starting lineup, he will definitely provide goals because he has enough quality to play in the Premier League. But speaking about Mamardashvili, I think you should have probably signed him more than you should have signed Salia because you need a goalkeeper more than you need a striker now, I think. Because I've looked into your squad and all of your goalkeepers, if I'm not mistaken, are over 30 years old, and you should have probably signed a younger goalkeeper this summer.
Yeah.
See, Mikha knows.
Yeah,
He knows.
we said the same. We spent 3 months talking about Mamardashvili, and it did look at one because Newcastle did seem to be interested, and but then we wouldn't pay the fee that was being talked about, and we were saying pay it, he's worth it, and then he was brilliant in the Euros. Then after that, so yeah, it's a pity that Liverpool snuck in ahead of us.
Yeah.
As soon as he started playing well in the Euros, we knew we never had a chance.
Yeah.
We knew it was always going to go to a higher caliber team. But we absolutely loved him. I do think personally that it was down to the fact that we didn't get European football, that maybe that deal didn't go through. But I just and it was not necessarily for Mamardashvili either. I think it's maybe financially for us. in being able to put out that sort of money because we
Yeah,
were
yeah.
playing football.
Sure.
But yeah, it's disappointing.
I've a question for you. From your network of people you would interact with, have you ever bumped into a Newcastle scout, or have you known that Newcastle were scouting players in the similar kind of circles that you travel in, Mika?
Not really, actually. I've never ever met a scout from Newcastle. But when you guys signed Salia, I connected with one of the scouts through LinkedIn, and I sent them a message. But I haven't actually met anyone from Newcastle. However, as I said in the beginning, I was actually very surprised to see that Newcastle were scouting at such a level, such a league, and that they actually decided to sign a player at such a young age, so early in his career. That was something that I didn't really expect, I have to admit. Sometimes big clubs like Newcastle and all those Premier League clubs might decide to scout such a, let's say, low-level league, although they might not decide to act immediately and make a step and sign a player. So that's why I was actually surprised to see that.
Cool. Yeah. You'd be surprised to know there's another great question from Foxy. Right now I think he's actually considering the role, because he's asking nearly the terms and conditions of the job. He goes, on scouting, do you get assigned to watch certain leagues or regions, or do they, that's like Football Manager, you do that, or do they give you the freedom to recommend the players of your choice?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really depends on the club. Some clubs, and depends on how many scouts do you have in your scouting department. Because if you have enough scouts in the scouting department, the head of scouting or the scouting coordinator will probably divide the region or different leagues among the scouting department and assign certain leagues to certain scouts. And mostly it's always like when you're assigning certain leagues to a certain scout, you will always try to keep those leagues within the same region to keep the scout in the same context, let's say. So, for example, you will be scouting Colombia, Ecuador, Uruguay, Paraguay, Argentina, something like that, and not all over the world. But when you don't have enough scouts, when you only have something, for example, at Dinamo, I was alone, so I was scouting all around the world. But when you have 5, 6, or 7 scouts, then you have the possibility to divide different regions and assign certain leagues. Yeah.
Nice. You wouldn't have come across a guy called Dennis Wise. He did a lot of traveling in his scouting days for Newcastle. That's another story. I won't go there.
I was just going to say to Mika, I've done a little bit of research, Mika, and the only reason I'm bringing this up is because it backs up exactly what you said earlier. So Miodrag Pivas, we loaned him to Willem II on loan. He's a centre-back, and we bought him from a Serbian club called Jedinstvo UV. But the reason I'm bringing it up is because it goes back to what you said, about players going on loan to the Dutch league. Because obviously we bought Yankuba Minte, went on loan to the Dutch league, and obviously Pivas has also gone on loan to the Dutch league. So it totally backs up what you were saying earlier, that sending players on loan to the Dutch league is a good move. And that's seemingly what we've done with Pivas.
Yeah, and exactly. I think Salia's current physical abilities would be more suited to the Dutch league rather than the Belgian league. But we will see what happens over the next 1 year. 1 year is plenty of time to develop even more, and probably it depends on what the club decides and what the player also prefers, whether they prefer to loan him out to a league like Belgium or the Netherlands or the Championship straight away. So it depends on that.
Yeah.
We'll do this as the last question, because Mika's been with us 50 minutes. You've been absolutely amazing. Thank you for us, and I know the chat will want to ask you another 50 more, and we haven't got time for it. So the last one from Luca is here. from the Georgian league, who do you think is the biggest talent right now?
That's a good question. Well, I will probably say, well, apart from Salia, I guess, alongside him, I would say Kharebashvili, the left back, Saba Kharebashvili, who I think Foxy mentioned previously. And as I said, he started playing when he was 15 years old. He just turned 16 at the end of August. But he has been playing men's football, and not only men's football, but like top division of Georgia, first team of Dynamo, since he was 15 years old. He's a left back. He used to be a center back in the academy, but then they moved him to left back. Now he sometimes plays in the midfield, but I honestly think that he's much more effective as a left back, and I would say him. There are some rumors about Barcelona and Real Madrid, Liverpool, and all these big clubs being interested. I'm not sure if that's true, or well, I don't know what's happening on that side. To be honest, I haven't checked. But yeah, we'll see. It's too early, honestly, to say that he will sign for Real Madrid. I don't think Real Madrid will sign a 16-year-old kid from Georgia. Although his development has been impressive, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what his ceiling is.
Cool. Great answer.
Yeah.
Great. Mikha, we'll let you go. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk about our new signing. We won't get to see him properly in a black and white shirt until next August, his 18th birthday, but it's great to see and hear about what we've got to come. And I think what you would have done now, Mikha, is made everyone very intrigued to keep a closer eye on him. I know there were videos circulating on Saturday when he scored at the weekend, and so I think Newcastle fans are taking a real interest in that. And I think everyone that's watched tonight would have definitely been even more intrigued by what you've said. It sounds like a very intriguing prospect, that's for sure.
Thank you very much, guys. I really enjoyed it as well, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him in black and white very, very soon.
Nice.
Definitely. We'd love to have you back on as well, later on down the line as he progresses and get a little bit of an update on how things are, maybe later on in the season. So we'll keep in touch, and hopefully we'll get you on soon, mate.
When you get that scouting job in Brighton, Mikha.
Yeah.
Mate, Loaded. Give Loaded a shout out. No.
For sure.
You take care.
You guys. Have a nice day.
Thanks, Mikha.
Bye.
You
Thank
too.
you, Mikha.
Bye.
Bye.
Great to have Mikha on. Brilliant stuff. Great to have Mikha on. A fantastic guest, and some great knowledge as well on our new signing. You excited, boys? You excited about what's to come?
Oh yeah. I can't wait to see him in action, and even if he goes on loan, to see what he can do on loan as well, and then just kind of find him a home in our squad and team going forward. So the future is bright, that's for sure.
Absolutely. For sure. Well,
it's nice. It's nice to be after players, isn't it? Who were, at the start of their career, like Mikha said, didn't he? He's never really bumped into any Newcastle scouts or anything like that. So to have, Newcastle going for the youngest, brightest, promising talent, it makes a nice change, doesn't it? Because normally it's the other clubs, and we're very much, like playing catch up or playing mega money for players who've kind of come through, and we're thinking, if only we'd signed him when he first developed or when he first got spotted. So it's great that we're straight in there, and hopefully that's what Paul Mitchell's going to bring with any luck.
Definitely.
Right, I think we're going to wrap it up. But maybe we'll get Foxy on as a scout as well. He knows all these players, so we have to get him on as well. Mika's still in the green room. We're going to chat with Mikha to say goodbye after the credits. So don't go, Mikha. Stay there. But I
was going to say, so many people saying love the guest, love Mikha on here, love the show, love the conversation that we've had. The YouTube link. Send it out to other people. Let other Newcastle United fans know about this show tonight. and the in-depth conversation we've just had with Mikha. So they're more informed. And as well, of course, make sure you click that like. We had a great number in the chat tonight. Thank you for your questions and comments as always. Absolute pleasure. Just wanted to drop that in, Daz. So yeah.
No. Nice one. That's it. See you tomorrow. We're back tomorrow. 8 o'clock again.
And we've got a panel. I need to tell you, but we've got a panel.
We've got a panel.
Yeah, got a panel. Newcastle focus show, everyone. I guess the only one thing left to say. How'd you like that? Good night, everyone.
How you like